Hello everybody, Zateo here. I'm doing a replay analysis for Gioxsus. I think it's just an overall general replay of what he could have done better. It's right here. Already, actually, I would say if you're going to build more mexes before your factory, um, I would suggest getting these. I basically suggest always getting two mexes first. If you're going to get a third mex, you want to put one wind turbine down first before the third one, but you don't need three at this time. This is just extra energy you don't really need at this point. So it's just excess, whereas you could be helping your metal tick up a little bit during that time, a little bit faster, instead of building these. Um, the other option for doing this is you could go three mexes and then solar and then maybe a couple of winds and then the lab. Um, the reason being is solars do not cost energy, so you will not stall on energy making that solar, and that's the only reason why you would need any of that infrastructure before the third max, because you would stall it, like if you did three extractors and then a turbine, then you'd stall on the turbine because of the energy requirements. Um, but yeah, so far, other than that, this looks pretty good. You're getting your wait, is which way did they pop out? Uh, I think this is facing south. Um, so you can rotate it. It's useful to rotate it so that the units pop out on the other side so they can get to the front line sooner. You rotate it by using the brackets. Just like as the building is like popped up like this, then like actually let's do it with a lab. So you do bracket to turn it 90 degrees. So here you'd want to tap it twice to turn it the other way. It does help out because then you can put buildings back here and not have to worry about pathing issues. So here, let's see, you're getting attacked by a few ticks. Turn on some. Oh, that's the wrong player though. Put it back on you. There we go. All right, so yeah, a couple ticks. You got some grunts out to defend. These mexes are fairly spread out, so yeah, you're going to want to defend it with grunts. But yeah, this is a pretty early tick from blue. You could get a radar a little bit sooner to help you spot for them, but the commander does have his own radar within this green circle here. You just need to be quick to respond if you do see a tick. A little bit of damage, that's kind of to be expected. You're repairing you're putting your mexes back in, so that's good. Your commander could be moving up right now. I do like that you're not sitting here idle with it. But I would say you could add on a few more energies because the faster you build up your economy, your resources, the better. So ideally, you'd want to build some energy since you're very low on energy, just like a few more wind turbines, and then you'd push your commander forward. The reason being is you ideally want to control more metal so that you can get more resources. And in order to do that, you want to push the commander as far forward as possible and start setting up a defensive line. Um, when you start seeing their units, you want to put down some LLTs to safeguard your mexes. Oftentimes in 8v8s, for example, you'll have like a little tiny region. So like your area that you need to defend will be like this big or something, maybe a little bit bigger. But in smaller teams like this, sometimes there's more area that you need to cover. So just so you want to put down LLTs like across that entire border that you need to cover um, with a little bit of spread. I mean, you can add more if you want to, or you could do a little bit less, but just you want to secure the front line so that you can grab all these mechs safely. But yeah, your energy is low enough that your production is going to be slowed down instead of producing as quickly as possible. And so your metal's actually rising a little bit. And then, yeah, ideally you want to avoid idle builders, but you know, stuff happens sometimes. One thing to note, when you are low on energy, light laser towers will not attack, D-gun will not work, and your metal extractors, most importantly, will not produce optimally. Like right now, this one's not producing at all because you don't have the energy to make metal with it, because they require 1.5 energy, or actually I'm sorry, they require 3 energy to produce the full amount. So yeah, you can see, taking a look at blue, this is kind of what you want to do. You know, you can take a look at what orange is doing too to see, you know, what to do. It's just like push up. You know, he saw some resistance here, and so he put down some LLTs here. You know, so he's just like protecting this frontline area so that he can grab this mechs, whoops, and so on and so forth. And also because you didn't push up, he's being attacked by teal and by blue. So it's especially hard for him because of that. So definitely push up as you can. The commander can actually, you know, he can take a lot of shots. If you have enough energy, he can degun, you know, any you know, groups of pawns or grunts that he sees. So, you know, putting him on the fronts may feel unsafe, but it's actually totally fine. And the build power that he has, he can quickly put down LLTs and radars and stuff. Radar, very important as you push up. What I would suggest as you push up is put down a radar every so often so that you can see what's coming or see what's ahead. And that way you know how far you can push up, you know where to put LLTs, and it just will help you out in that kind of situation. But by this time you should definitely at least have 1 radar. Like either near your base, or, you know, in this case there are some like high ground cliffs here, and those do block the line, the not only the line of sight of radar, but the radar mechanic itself. So if you, for example, put a radar here, you know, it'd be able to see like this, and like, you know, or it would be further than that, but like basically the mountains block the radar, you know, so it would not be able to see here, it would not be able to see back here, and it would not be able to see here. So ideally, if you can, you know, units have a bits of range for their build. I'm holding shift to see this, but around the commander there's that green circle, that's the like builds area. So you can like sometimes hug a cliff and then put a radar on top of it or something. Well, ideally not in this spot, but like say like up here or up here, and that just allows you to see further beyond, you know, like it prevents the cliffs from stopping the radar, you know, as much as it would. But yeah, moving on, looks like you have your constructors out here grabbing the metal. That would be good still to do. Like you can push your commander up, ignore the metal, and then grab the metal with your constructors just to get him further ahead. Because basically the more, you know, the more area you secure with the commander, the more metal you can safely get. So this is a little bit unsafe just because there's no commander with it. You know, they are just super tanky for early game. This anti-air, I mean, you could, it's okay to get anti-air at this time, but like realistically, like players are not gonna have a ton of air at this point. And there's really not much you're guarding here. You're guarding this one mech, so you don't really need it in this position. I would argue that if you're going to get one, maybe put it here in your base so that it can guard your base here. Let's speed it up just a little bit. Okay, so you go for the agitator, which is useful. I would argue you don't really have the metal to support this at this time, though. Just because you weren't able to secure some of the more frontal mexes. I'm really surprised blue hasn't taken this mex. It's a really big mex. Really important to try to get if you can. And unfortunately for Orange, he's dealing with the, getting attacked from two sides here. Um, but yeah, that'd just be the way to support your team a little bit better, is trying to secure. Like basically on this map in a 4v4, you're basically in charge of this area. Actually, I would actually argue you're in charge of like this area. Which, depending on how far forward you are able to push, it might be more like, like this and like this. That's a little bit more ideal. Because then you can reliably keep this 3.2 mechs. And then, okay, that was someone else's economy. So yeah, just not enough metal coming in. This I would try to avoid. So basically each of these take 70 energy a second and convert it to 1 metal, which is very inefficient. Ideally, you want to try to grab more metal extractor points. Like this 1.8 would give you 1.8 a second, and it costs far, far less to do that. The extractors themselves don't cost a lot of metal, but they do cost energy and build time. And then if you want to actually be able to use them, you need to add a lot of energy. Like for example, right now these wind turbines are plus 12, so you'd need like 6 of them to even support one of these. And then that's without having excess energy for other things. So to actually support this dozen of converters you have, you need like a whole wind's field to even be able to do that. So this, if you're going to get a converter or two, that's fine. But I would definitely suggest to stay away from this many if possible. It is, if you really need to, you can get some converters, but ideally, again, getting the metal extractors is far more valuable. So your agitator is almost done. Okay, so now it's being useful. I like that you added some extra build power to it with these constructors. One thing I would suggest is to try to queue up more orders. Like it's like you had these guys come up to assist the agitator, but you could also hold shift and right click on I mean, you can hold, like if you select all your builders and they're building the agitator, you can hold shift and, queue up more stuff. If you have a guy that's already doing queue work, you can also like select assistance and right click on that guy. You see this like blue circle? So that order is a guard order. And when constructors are told to guard, they will assist building whatever that unit, excuse me, whatever that builder is building or doing. So yeah, they could have been helping build this sooner. I would also argue that your metal can't really support so much build power. I mean, this is fine to have. You have a couple of con turrets. But basically you are spending a lot of metal on these converters. This agitator. Agitators are, how much are they? 1,300 metal, which is a lot of units. You could have had like a lot more grunts or a lot more plasma bots or something like that. At this point, I would suggest plasma bots. When it comes to like types of units to get, grunts and pawns are like raiding units. They're fast, they're cheap, and they can run around and deal damage past the line, but they're very inefficient against like things like laser towers or plasma bots and stuff like that. So plasma bots are a little bit better at holding the line. So the thugs are your best friend here. The only thing about them is they do miss some shots, so they're not quite that good until you get like a bunch of them. And then they also can't really respond to raids very well because they are much, much slower. To take out towers, you can do things like, yeah, actually, like, so if, once you run into a player that has LLTs down, I would suggest getting some aggravators, some rocket bots. For the Armada, it's the Rocketeer, but basically they have slightly more range than a light laser tower. Light laser towers have 430 range. I'm holding space to see this information, by the way, if you don't know about that. Let's see, is there an aggravator or something similar I can click on for the range? Actually, I can just look at the build thing here. So holding space here again, 475. So or actually you started getting some too. But yeah, 475 versus the 435 of the light laser tower. So they can take them out pretty easily, from a distance. When it comes to twin guards and beamers, the beamers and twin guards have slightly more range, 400, so they can't really reliably take them out. They still do nice damage against them, but yeah, they will take some damage if they try to get into range to shoot. But yeah, this agitator, I mean, it's useful, but it's not going to be useful for pushing. It's useful to take out what he has, but I would ultimately suggest trying to get units instead so that you can keep pushing forward. Because once you take out this position that blue has here, it's going to be harder to push past because you spent so much metal on the agitator. Oh, that's unfortunate for orange. Looks like pink's doing pretty good. Yellow is kind of stuck here with purple. And yeah, now orange is about to, starting to fall a little bit. So this is a bit of trouble. But yeah, you're pushing back blue with the agitator. So again, it is useful. It's just, he can now set up back here and the agitator can't do anything about it. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Yeah, again, this is... Don't do this. It's just, you don't have the metal or the energy to support it. So I don't know if you know about this or not, but I'll just point it out. Your converters, actually, before I even point that out, you might notice on my screen I have this like percentage up here. That's the energy converter usage. So it tells you how many, what percentage of your converters are actually being used. It tells you, how much energy is being actually taken away and how much metal is being produced at this bottom right corner. So at 0, you're not producing anything. But you can turn that on in the settings if you go to, I believe it's interface. Yeah, interface. Go all the way to this other side. I don't know if you need that on or not. Yeah, it looks like you need to be in advanced, but basically there is a energy converter usage that you might want to turn on to see that. It's just helpful so you know like if they're actually being used or not. Also, you might be able to tell like these are just switched off and some of these are switched on. So you're converting that much. But yeah, I was also gonna say that this slider here, like so the red one is for sharing, like where you want your energy to share to your teammates. This white one is for energy conversion. So once energy dips below or equal to this slider, it will stop being converted. So it may seem like you have plenty of energy to convert, but you actually don't. Because it's basically hitting the slider and sitting there. You might notice it like popping up and down. That's basically because of how it does the math for it. Because basically it'll add your plus amount of energy and then it'll subtract it. So it's always, it's basically going up and then coming right back down. So like a little tiny bit of it is being converted, but again, most of these are not being used. Okay, so now you have some units out, you're pushing blue a bit. This is nice. I would actually argue, like, if you are going to get this agitator at this at this kind of point, you could reclaim it. You just select some builders or get a res bots and just hit E and reclaim it. Let's see. So yeah, with a builder you hit E and then just click on it. and that'll give you the full amounts back. The 1300 metal will be yours again, so you can just like put it back into units or something like that if you choose to. The only reason why you might not want to is if you expect him to be able to push back really hard, and if he's trying to push into your territory here again. But yeah, he set up so many defenses here that's, you know, he set up a lot of defenses here that you were able to take out with the agitator. So probably, I mean, you know, it was useful to have, but now you don't really need it, so you might as well just put it into units. Okay, so he went T2 behind this, so this is going to be tricky, because Hounds do have some nice range on T1 units. Or I should say T1 bots specifically. Kill the mechs, nice. Yeah, his commander's still really forward, even though his health is health is less than half. So it's a bit dangerous for him. So you're doing kind of a nice job, like you're doing a nice job putting pressure on, so he can't expand too much. But yeah, with those Hounds, it's going to be even more difficult now. Oh, this is getting a little rough for Orange here. Yeah, it might be a situation where Orange gets pushed pretty heavily by some tanks here in a minute. Okay, Yellow tries to help you, but unfortunately this basically is just feeding units in, because the Hounds are going to be able to pick this off pretty easily. Like at this kind of time, it would be reasonable to do a raid. Hounds are reasonably fast. They can catch up to units. Like if you try to swing units around this way to raid, you might be able to get into his base and do some damage. But because of the positioning of the Hounds, it's pretty easy for him to just pull back. So, I mean, it's a, you know, you can try it, but it might not be successful type of thing. The other option would be to raid up this way, or, you know, just go directly to purple from that direction too. But if you're going to do a raid, like you don't really have raiding units right now, but if you did have a pile of grunts, you could run up there. Yeah, grunts might be able to get in there and do some damage, and just you know, something to think about. Blue's getting a gauntlet of his own. Yeah, so I would also say when it comes to the agitator or a gauntlet, I mean obviously you couldn't really do this prior, but if you can, it's a little bit better to set it up in this kind of area, because then you're denying this mechs, and this mechs, and then also somewhat defending this one here. But yeah, the more metal you take away from your opponents and the more that you can get, the better. So Blue's position on his gauntlet protects these mexes, and then he can like rebuild this mex and maybe even rebuild that one. Actually, this one's in agitator range, so maybe not that one. Yeah, especially at this point. So Blue has his T2 here. It's kind of an opportunity because he's probably not going to have much over here. So you have like the option / opportunity to like send some raiding units up this way. And it'll be hard for him to respond. Again, raiding units would be like grunts. In your case. Grunts and sizers, you know, if you're Armada, then it'd be pawns or ticks or blitzes. Right, Blue's back over here, so now you wouldn't be able to do that. It's one of those things where it's like you need to watch his army, see where he's at. If he's out of position, you can abuse it. But yeah, that goes especially if the units are slower, like, you know, if those thugs. But yeah, here it's just really rough because it's T2 against T1, and Hounds are just really good at picking off things like plasma bots, the thugs. Yeah, so it looks like you're about to try T2 as well. Yeah, when you run up against T2 like this, like, it kind of becomes the only option unless you're able to just overwhelm him before he gets a big enough force. Uh, but this is plenty of hounds at this point, so it's sort of like you kind of have to try to get T2. Um, if you're trying to get T2, I would suggest selling this bot lab by reclaiming it. You can use your consorts to do it as well. But that'll just help you get this sooner because you're, eating the cost of this lab, which is 620, and then feeding it into this lab to get it a little bit sooner. But yeah, this is a very rough situation. Blue's able to get in here and just kind of punish you. Agitator doesn't stand a chance. Yeah, that hound ball definitely doing some damage. Let's see, do any of your allies have T2? No. Oh, he's got an air lab over here. Okay. So yeah, no T2. If one of your allies had T2, you could ask for a T2 bot or constructor. Just to upgrade your metal extractors. Excuse me. To upgrade your metal extractors, and then, with that extra metal, it'd be easier to get T2 yourself. Or easier to just like get more units pumping out because you have the extractors. But yeah, unfortunately, no one has a counter to hounds right now because you can't really counter it with T1. And yeah, this looks like it's pretty much over. One of the other things is if you're going T2, you're going to want a bit more energy than you currently have. Or you could have more wins. Basically, during the transition or before the transition, ideally you want to have just more energy going on. And that's just because T2 is going to cost a lot more energy, and so you're going to want to just have it possible. I mean, this isn't a small amount, like, 800's not bad, actually. Oh, I didn't even see these. Okay, never mind. You do have quite a bit. I was wondering, like, how are you producing so much energy? Okay, well that makes a lot more sense. So yeah, 800's not too bad. Obviously the wind's down right now, so that's not that. It's not really giving you that much, but. Yeah. All right. That's a resign. Anyways, I hope you learned some things from this review. I know I was a bit stuttery, and I apologize for that. I had a lot of coffee, and so I'm kind of all over the place right now. But yeah, hopefully it helps. And if you have any questions or anything, let me know. I'll definitely be checking in on the thread. And so yeah, good luck in your future games.